Analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Friday, ladies and gentlemen, the 16th of May, 2025. Look, we had an interesting week, in my opinion. We had some interesting moves, some instruments, and look, about all this and a little bit more in the webinar, which is coming up right now, because this is the video preview for the webinar. So stick around, hopefully you'll enjoy the session, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and good morning. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the global market analyst here at Markets.com. And today is the 16th of May, 2025. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful week. The week has been somewhat of a bumpy one, I would say. Look, we're going to dig into the markets. We'll see what happened in general, and yes, we'll have a look at the economic events. Also, the technical situation in the charts. Yeah, about all this and a little bit more in a bit. But first, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. I'm just going to put the usual good morning in the chat room. Good morning, everyone. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Just to remind everybody as well that you can all ask questions if you wish, and feel free to do so during the live session. Or if you're watching this as a recorded, then don't forget. I mean, you can always leave a comment in the box below, and I'll pick up on that comment in the next session. So. Now then, also just before we jump into the charts, just a quick mentioning of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with the usual, as we usually do, with Nikkei 225. And look, we had a good run. We had a push. We had a push above that 38,300 territory that I kept on talking about. And then we kind of drifted back down. So we remained above all my EMAs. That's the most important. Look, we did see some weakness today kicking in a little bit in terms of economic data sets. That we did get some information here, some preliminary GDP figures from Japan. So the Q-on-Q growth rates here, well, it's showing a decline from plus 0.6 to minus 0.2. Well, not very good, I would say. And the industrial production number, okay, it beat the forecast. We stayed in positive territory, but the month-on-month did decline from the previous. However, the year-on-year is showing not a bad number. So basically, we can say that yes, initially we saw the negativity kicking in, maybe a reaction to the growth rate, but then it stabilized. They kind of thought that, hey, that's maybe not that bad, so let's keep the index afloat. Either way, the index kind of remains somewhat in negative territory, and I'm looking at the cash index, by the way. So it's currently remaining in negative territory. So look, after how many weeks, like 5 weeks in a row with strong positivity, we finally found a little bit of resistance and a little bit of a slowdown moment. Now, look, in the beginning of this week, I talked about this idea about seeing something like maybe an inverted head and shoulders pattern, where the left shoulder is right here, the head, and maybe we have not formed the right shoulder yet. Now, we don't know if that's going to be the case, so for now we have to just kind of stick to the cautiously bullish approach, because we remain above all my EMAs for now on the daily chart. If we continue to do so, my next target again is the 38,300 and maybe this downside line taken from the highest point of July of 2024. Now, let's not forget that this move higher currently is still seen as somewhat of a part of a larger correction to the upside. Like I said, for now that's the case, and overall maybe we're forming a very big descending triangle. Who knows? But again, let's not go there yet. First, let's see what's going to happen here if we can see a rebound from the EMAs. If we cannot, if we start clearing those, I'm going to aim a little bit lower, but not, let's say, too low, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to aim for these areas. Actually, maybe instead of this one, I'll probably target this little hurdle here, the low of the 7th of May near the 36,562 zone, and maybe then a little bit lower towards the 36,000 zone. So this 36,000 zone becomes an interesting, quite interesting target. Like Japanese Nikkei 225, the Chinese 50 index also did correct lower, and look, I think if to trust some of the headlines, that the market is kind of the market understands that yes, there is positivity, that the China-US deal or some sort of a deal has been reached for 90 days, but then everybody's like thinking, okay, then but what's after? What's after that? After that, well, I think it was going to be back to normal again, in terms of normal, back to tariff wars, because some say that maybe the tariffs are going to go back to somewhere maybe like 30% or something like that instead of 10, but I don't know. Like a flat tariff, but again, I don't know. Like I said, it's for now there's way too much speculation. It's really unclear what's going to happen because it can change very quickly. So at the moment we go with the flow. Let's for now we understand that we are in this positive period because a deal of some sort has been reached. But look, we're seeing just a normal little correction back down right now. We're testing this broken downside line. We remain somewhat above it still, and as long as we stay above it, then yes, there is a good chance for this one to pop higher. Either way, I would say for me to get comfortable with the upside, a break above the 13,800 zone here would be required. US 30, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So beautiful rebound yesterday. Look at this. Beautiful rebound from this territory, from the EMAs, from this breakout zone which I talked about, which is roughly around the 41,838 zone. So again, that's like approximate, like that's not really something how to say it, to focus on too much. Is more of an area that that we're watching, and so far it seems like it's playing out nicely. So this area provided good support. We're seeing a push back up. This is, like I said, this is working out for me very well now, but now the question is what's going to happen next. Are we going to see this breakout here? Are we going to see the pop above the 42,474 zone, or actually is this just like a little pause where we're going to start, moving sideways, where, we're going to be forming something like a range here? So, but either way, even if it is going to be a range, we look at the prevailing trend. The prevailing trend was to the upside. So that means the greater chance for this one could be to break out higher. But again, let's say, like I said, today it's another day. In general, the week so far is doing quite positive. The month so far is doing good as well. There is, like I said, there is a good chance for this one to push further north. Yesterday, oh, by the way, I'm going to get into economic data just in a bit. The S&P 500, similar story, but this one's looking a little bit better than the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We are continuing to push higher, and as I said to you on Monday and Wednesday, I said to you that, look, I mean, we had a great recovery, and it's a very steep recovery, and to be honest, it could be the DAX scenario. Could be just all the way up until the all-time high. But again, let's not rush into things. Let's see if this is going to be true or not. I mean, we can draw an upside line here, but it's without. I think you can see it with a naked eye that there is something steep here happening. So yeah, for now we're just, like I said, I'm targeting the upside. Even if we do correct back down, as long as we stay above the EMAs, then yes, I will continue targeting the upside. US 100, which is NASDAQ 100, and yes, similar story. Look, I mean, I'm still leaning towards the upside, and again, I think that this could be that DAX scenario. DAX scenario, basically, if you're curious, this is the DAX where we just basically recovered all the way and created a new all-time high, but I'll get to DAX in a bit. So just picking up on the economic data. So yesterday we got the US PPIs that came out. So let me just show you what I'm talking about here. So there we go. I think is this, no, this one, sorry. 2.4. 2.4. The previous one was at 3.4. I mean, okay, the expectation was at 2.5 already on the lower side, but just it came out 1% lower. I mean, it's just giving more fuel for the current administration to pour more dirt on Jerome Powell, and like why he's not like cutting rates, because look, inflation is on the lower side. On Tuesday we had the CPI which came out on the lower side as well. Inflation rate year-on-year headline inflation, look at this, 2.4, 2.3 dropped. Okay, the core was at the same 2.8, but you know, but the PPI, the producer price index, came out much lower, and I think that this is just going to give more thought for or let's say more food for you know, for some more tweets, for more fuel for the tweets. So yeah, like I said, long story short, for now it's an interesting spot here. Of course, the indices are loving the positivity. But I think that everybody's living in that little bubble for now. I mean, in terms of 90-day bubble where everything is nice and rosy. After that, we don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, we'll take it. Of course, we're not going to, you know, try to predict the future after 90 days. But for now, I think that there could be some more upside on this one, just because, like I said, everything is on a hype, and everything is just, you know, pushing nicely to the upside. So let's jump into the US dollar index. How did we perform this week? So of course, lower inflation numbers are not very good here, not good for this index, and we are seeing a decline. So we saw a decline on Tuesday after the report. We saw a little bit of a stabilization moment on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, yesterday, it did decline again because of the PPIs, and today we're just having a continuation move lower. So for now, although this is looking quite negative, if you look at the weekly candle, you'll see a nice little pin bar to the upside here, but or we can say like a shooting star, something like that. So yeah, right now, like I said, right now it's an interesting moment. I mean, could this mean that we're ready for a reversal back to the downside? But I don't want to rush into anything yet. Look, I mean, yes, everything's looking quite bearish for now, but I need some confirmation breaks. I need to drop below this territory, below this, first of all, below this upside line, which I talked about previously. If you were watching my webinars, you'll remember that a couple of weeks ago I kept on talking about this upside line. If we break it, you know, it could open the doors to some higher levels, and it did. We drifted higher. Now this upside line is again to be watched, and if it does hold, maybe a little rebound back up could be possible. But if it gets cleared and we see a drop below the 100 zone, then hey, I'm leaning towards the 99 area after that. The German index DAX, I mean, unstoppable. This is just an animal of its own, and it is loving the positivity in general. I think it's just loving the fact that maybe there could be some negotiations in the or there are some negotiations in the conflict. However, something tells me that if the conflict ends, the DAX is going to drift a little bit lower, because look, the power and DAX is driven by one of these companies. And look, I mean, if we look at the monthly chart on this one, right? So that's the beginning of the war in Ukraine. So before that, the company was like, just like around 100 balancing, right? And that's why I'll keep on saying war is profitable. Look at this. I mean, this is just spectacular. This is just insane. And it seems like there is no stopping for this one unless the conflict stops, and then we'll see this stock drifting back to the downside. So long story short, RheinMetall is one of the driving forces of DAX. And DAX, of course, is enjoying the moment right now. I'm not saying that the only because of that stock DAX is traveling higher. No, there are other good companies, you know, in the index. The financial sector in general is doing quite well, but yeah, for now everything is looking quite positive here for the DAX. But I'll have to say it this way: that look, I threw out an idea yesterday on DAX here. You can check it out here. Basically, we were still below this little hurdle, and I said that why I'm watching this hurdle, this 23,476 territory, because that was, it's the previous, well, I should say it was the previous high, but it's basically the highest point of March, and it was a strong area of resistance. We cleared it, we went for a new all-time high. And if we somehow stay below this territory, below this hurdle, below this highest point of March of 2025, on this candle, on this May candle, then maybe this is going to show to us, say that, you know what, maybe we're not really ready to go higher. Maybe we're ready for a little bit of a resistance, retracement back down. So let's see how this is going to play out, of course. Certainly for now, the index is looking quite positive. It wants to travel further north, but if we are examining the upside, then I would say it this way, that I will examine the upside if we kind of push above the 23,911 zone, or 912 zone, actually, to round it up here a little bit. If we can clear that, a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed, and then we could target, you know, the next potential area, which could be that 24,000 zone, which is not far. But what I want to do here is I want to apply my beloved Fibonacci extension here, and this one, again, it's really a little bit subjective the way you draw it, which parts do you connect. But as you can see, if you connect it this way, drawn from the lowest point of August of 2024 to the highest point of March, and then to the lowest point of April, then you'll see that the 100% here target is at around, not far from that 25,000 mark, just a little bit below that. So that's if you draw it this way. If you draw it, let's say, from the same other highs, the last two levels, but the lowest point of October of 2023, then you'll see that we are actually near a key area of resistance, which is that 23,956, and that's where we're getting a hold up. So you can, in a way, kind of keep an eye on it, and if that gets cleared, then yeah, maybe we'll, like I said, we'll draw the Fibonacci extension this way. But if it holds, if this area continues to provide strong resistance, then maybe this Fibonacci is correctly drawn. Now, of course, I'm going to get very comfortable with the downside if we start falling back below the 23,476 territory here, and then we'll go from there. Let's have a look at the, oh, by the way, let's see, in terms of economic data from Europe, let's see what's happening so far. And European trade balance is coming up today. Nothing major today in general. Yesterday, I'm gonna get to the UK numbers in a bit, but preliminary, we got the preliminary numbers from Eurozone and for the employment change here. So a little bit of an improvement, I would say, apart from the year-on-year figure. Growth rate estimates here came out again. It's like, you know, Eurozone numbers are always like a little bit on the boring side. Industrial production improved, there we go. But European numbers are always kind of in line with the forecast. Anyway, that's good. You know, that's good. You know what to expect. But yeah, sometimes when you need a little bit of volatility, then it's not helpful. Apart from that, like, we didn't have anything major in general, apart from this economic sentiment, which kind of improved. That's great. So yes, in a way, everything is pointing towards a little bit of higher levels here on the German index DAX. Speaking of the FTSE, there we go. We get a clearance. We get a clearance of that 8,650 zone. So look, I talked about this, and where's that data? I talked about this, and basically, look, yesterday, where's that number? So yesterday we got some numbers here. The trade balance improved here. You can see construction orders came out the same as previous, still good. GDP year on year came out at 1.1, which is fine still. I mean, although it's a lower number than the previous, but because it managed to beat the forecast, then yes, I mean, that's already seen like, wow, great. But in general, it's not bad. It's not maybe super great, but it's still the fact that we're not dropping closer to zero. That's already like a positive on its own. Industrial production year on year came out and a little bit on the end of decline here. But look, I mean, that was for the previous months, so there were a lot of shakeups, so maybe this can all pick up in the next reading. So for now, I think the market is the FTSE 100 is reacting just in general to what's happening on the global arena. We're seeing some positivity in there, and it's spilling into UK. There are some positive news about US and UK deal making. So all that is kind of still overshadowing the bad economic data, some bad economic data. I cannot say all of it. No, some bad economic data. And we're seeing here, and look, the technical picture is playing out perfectly. I talked about this. I said that if we do break this 8,650 zone, a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed, potentially attracting more buyers into the game. Now, for the downside, drop below the EMAs here, below the 50 and the 100 could do the trick for a few more sellers. Let's jump into the Forex world, ladies and gentlemen. AUDUSD, we're stalling, and we're oscillating around the 200-day EMA. So for now, this analysis that I did here and this idea that I mentioned about the breakout through the these levels here, I think that's quite reasonable, and I think I'm going to still stick to it. So while we remain inside this pattern between the 0.63, and actually let me just adjust this a little bit, because I think that this is where yes, this is what I'm gonna do here. There we go. So the 0.6366, something like that, you know, we're in this kind of a range here between these areas here. The 0.65 here is the barrier for the upside. For the downside, the 0.6366, something like that, could be the gateway towards some lower levels. But still, for the downside, I think that a drop below the EMAs could be nice. AUDJPY, we're at an interesting spot here, and yeah, we are rebounding from this downside line. Look, and I talked about this many times already in my previous videos, in my previous webinars, that there's this one rule that I kind of look at, and whenever we break a trend line, doesn't matter, downside, upside, we tend to revisit it from the other side. And there we go, we're doing that again. So let's see if we can do this now. So if we can do this, that's wonderful. That's like, you know, showing that the the market sentiment is still in a risk-on, operating in a risk-on fashion. Because again, we know that AUDJPY is our risk-on, risk-off monitor. So whenever the stock market rallies, we see a good move in AUDJPY as well, because everybody's abandoning the Japanese yen and jumping into something like commodity-linked currencies like Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. So for now, we're seeing a retracement, which is kind of in line with the stock market overall. And let's see if we can rebound from here. NZD-USD, again, similar story like with AUDUSD. I'm watching this one, I'm not really doing much, just observing the price action here. Very straightforward. For the downside, a drop below all my EMAs here is needed. For the upside, I would need to see a push somewhere above the 0.6030. Well, actually, you know what? A push above this may be barrier here, the 0.6030 zone-ish. If we can clear that, amazing, more buyers could join in. USDJPY. USDJPY is at an interesting spot here. It fell back below the, it tested this downside line and it broke it. And now we fell back below this hurdle, and it's kind of opening the door to some lower areas. In my opinion, I'm not going to rush into anything yet. Again, we're drifting lower, but there is a last resort here, which could be this upside line for the bulls. This one's taken from the lowest point of April, and if we can if we can rebound from it, maybe we can, you know, push nicely back up here. And but again, you see, it's a tricky one. We have a problem that if the stock market rallies, we have a problem that everybody's, you know, selling the yen. And at the moment, yes, we're seeing a little bit of a correction move to the downside, and everybody's kind of jumping back into the yen. However, is this going to be long term? We don't know yet. So let's see what the stock market does, and then we'll act accordingly to the yen. Because at the moment, given that U.S. inflation data showed showed some lower numbers, I think that the market is still digesting that, kind of still picking up on that, and we're seeing some weakness in the U.S. dollar. But again, we need some sort of like good numbers to come out for that could support the US dollar. For now, we're not seeing those. USDCAD, it's stalling, but it's stalling below all my EMAs here. So in a way, it's still a good thing. I'm not really getting bearish yet because I need some confirmation here. Maybe a move back below. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Just a sec. Let me grab a line. So maybe a drop back below somewhere this territory, back below the 1.39 zone. If we can do that, this could open the door to some lower levels. But at the moment, it's the two weaker currencies that are trying to battle it out to see who's going to be the weakest one. USDCHF. USDCHF is currently stalling above the 23.6. That's fine, but again, let's see if we can do this right here, right now. So if we can break this upside line, or is this 23.6 going to act as a good area of support from which we will rebound and push back up? EURUSD very quickly. EURUSD. Look, I would say this way: if we do push back above the 1.1264 zone right here, great, wonderful, I'll go to the upside. But if we struggle, and if we do struggle to push back above this hurdle, maybe we could see a drift back down. Now, one thing I really want to do here is actually is remove everything. I think it's time to remove all the drawings and have a fresh look. So first of all, let's see if some of these upside lines are going to work. This one, yeah, we broke this one. Yeah, no longer needed. Maybe we can actually draw it this way. Let's see if this is going to make sense. Yes, actually, yes, this is a good one. So in case we're examining the downside scenario, this upside line becomes an interesting one to watch. So, and for that one, we need to see, in order to aim for that to that area, I need to see a drop below the 1.1065 zone, somewhere here, the lowest point of this week. Or is it this week? No, this is this week, yes. So if we do drop below that, then we'll slowly start shifting our attention towards the EMAs here, and then we'll go from there. For the upside scenario, a break of this downside line right here could be a good opportunity to jump in and push higher. So yes, again, I'm not going to go crazy or anything, but a break of this downside line could attract more buyers, and we also can break, if we break this 1.1264 zone, yep, that could, like I said, increase the chances of a move to the upside towards maybe the highest point of April, which is around the 1.1575 zone. EUROJPY, let's have a look how, oh, this one is nice. Look at this. I mean, okay, look, on a weekly, beautiful false breakout. Initially was thinking about the, the ascending triangle pattern, but there we go. We broke initially above it, then we stalled, and then we drifted back inside. So there we go. Basically, we're back in the formation. And what can I say for now? It's back to the drawing board in a way. So look, it's drifting lower, but for the downside, I need to see a drop below this territory, this whole area right here. If we can get that move, amazing. I'll consider some moves lower, but at the moment, yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult one. For the upside, once again, I will keep an eye on this one right here, on this 164.18 area. Let's jump into GBPUSD. So this one's still somewhat okay. We're in this nice formation. Maybe this is ascending triangle, maybe not, who knows, but in general, either way, look, I'm still leaning a little bit more towards the upside on this one, but only up until this area near the 1.3440 area zone, something around here, and then we'll go from there. Let's jump into the commodity world. Gold, look at this. Yesterday, beautiful move back up. Look, I talked about this and I said to you several times that, look, I'm considering this move to the downside, maybe a test of this 50-day EMA, where we tested the lower side of this falling channel as well, and we pushed back up. We strongly pushed back up. Look at this. I mean, that was a spectacular move here. Wow, almost like 100 points here move. Actually, it was a 100 points move. So yeah, what can I say? It's 100 points move in terms of from the lows of that day. But now we're seeing a little bit of retracement back down. Okay, this is a little bit annoying, but I think that it's kind of settling above this area. So in the beginning of this week, if you remember, I talked about this and I said that I'm watching this hurdle here, this area around the 3,200 zone. If we somehow stay above it eventually, then yes, there could be some moves to the upside. So we did violate it. Brilliant. On a weekly, we'll see a beautiful false breakout here. Yep, we are currently trying to settle above this 3,200. Let's see if it does that. For now, everything's pointing more towards the upside, but again, the day is young and so are we. Silver, yes, a similar story, drifting back to the downside here, correcting lower, but again, is this gonna stay above the EMAs? Or actually, are we gonna, drift back down? At the moment with silver, to be honest, I'm not touching this one. It's for me to look at this one to the downside. A drop below the 31.65 territory here would be required, would be needed. For the upside, a push above the 33.24 zone is something that I'm watching. Palladium, just it seems like it's forming some higher lows but struggling with the higher highs. Okay, well, if we can clear this area, if we can clear all the EMAs once again, I will consider a move higher. Copper, just a quick look, just a little bit of a mess here, I would say, and yeah, I'm not really picking up on this one right now, probably for later. Now, oil is interesting. Now, oil is, as you can see here, stuck, and it got held nicely near that 50-day EMA. It pushed nicely to the upside, but yeah, there was too much for it to overcome for the bulls, and now we're seeing it drift back down. Look, overall, I said to you that I am bearish on oil, and I will stick to my game. Because look, even from the technical perspective, we're seeing here some sideways action right now. And can it be maybe that we're seeing a triangle forming? Let's see. It's not an ascending triangle, descending or whatever. It's like it's I would say like a little bit of a symmetrical triangle, which is a little bit tilted to the downside. But look, either way, the most important thing here is that we look at the prevailing trend. The prevailing trend was to the downside, and there we go. The greater chance for this one is to break out lower. So let's see if this is going to happen. For the upside, I need to see a break of this downside line. And if we can get that move, wonderful, I'll go higher. Natural gas drifted nicely to the downside. We're resting on the 200-day EMA. If that gets cleared, I'm going lower. Coffee, beautiful rebound from the 100-day EMA. That's fine. That's wonderful. So my next my next target was the 50-day EMA. We reached that one. So look, for the downside, I'm going to draw this. If we do clear again the 100-day EMA, I'm going to go lower. I'm going to aim for this upside line and the 200-day EMAs. But for the upside, at least for a little bit higher, if we do push above the 50-day EMA, I'm going to consider I'm going to consider a move to the upside. So something like this, basically. All right, let's jump into wheat. Okay, beautiful rebound back up. Nice, very strong area of support right here. It was. Which is this 506 zone. So look, in general, wheat is pushing back up. It's trying to make its way higher, but again, we're still below. We're still below all the EMAs on the daily chart. So in a way, look, I would need to see a push above all my EMAs in order to get comfortable with the upside. Sugar drifted back to this key area of support around this 17.50 zone right here. We're still above it, so maybe, again, just maybe, we're forming a nice little complex head and shoulders pattern, inverted head and shoulders pattern, which means that this could be the so-called neckline, but actually the neckline could be a little bit tilted. There we go. So left shoulder here, double head, and then the right shoulder. But again, with the right shoulder has not formed yet, so we cannot really say that this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. For now, I will say it this way, that for now, I'm going to play the waiting game. I like this area, the 17.5 zone. If we continue to trade above it, yep, there is a chance for this one to push higher. Cotton is, yeah, it's pushing, or at least trying to hold above the 64.8 zone, 0.80 zone. So that's in a way great. If we do fall below it, great, I'm going to go lower. But if we stay above this territory, I'm going to continue targeting the upside in a way, to be honest, because I like cotton, and like I said, it's a great commodity. But we're now currently struggling with this one. Of course, like I said, the drop in demand, all these bans on companies like Shein and Temu, that's kind of having its burden on cotton as well. Because again, they do clothing. No, Temu doesn't only do clothing, but I mean mostly not clothing, but they do also do clothing. And yes, I mean for now, like I said, if somehow the relations improve between China and the US, then yeah, we could see this one maybe popping back up again. However, I think that probably what's going to happen faster with cotton is a natural disaster, so in terms of like maybe we'll get a flood, or the harvest will, get damaged, or maybe a heat wave, a dryness. So that's what could happen, and basically then boom, so that's where it could pop back to the upside. So keep your eyes on this one. And finally, for dessert, let's jump into the crypto world. Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is stalling here. We are stuck, and it seems like it wants to go higher, but we're waiting for some sort of a catalyst. At the moment, we're going to continue waiting to do so, and I'm not really excluding a possibility to go for that all-time high. I think it's quite doable. So yep, and that's what I'm going to stick to right now. Bitcoin Cash is, look, I mean, if this is not a bullish flag, then I don't know what is, but it's a beautiful hold up near this upside line. It would be really, really a shame if we're not gonna create a nice bullish flag here, but either way, a push above the 432 zone here would be required. I think that that's something that the market is kind of looking at. So it seems like we're on the right track, but let's see if that's going to stay like this, because, well, at the moment it looks like a bullish flag. I want to see if this is going to end up being such. Ethereum is still holding above all the EMAs. That's great. So this is kind of pointing a little bit more towards the upside. So that's great. But if you're not feeling comfortable with this idea, just keep an eye on the current highest point of May near the 2,736. If we can clear that one, great. We could go higher. Ripple is drifting. It has already drifted lower. We still remain above all the EMAs here on the daily chart. And I think that what could happen here is basically this. So we could still drift a little bit lower maybe, but if it holds above the upside line, then yes, great. you know, a rebound could be possible. Litecoin is flirting with that 100 level. If we can clear that 100 level, I'm gonna go higher on this one. It could be quite interesting. Yeah, that's kind of it. That's like I said, that's pretty much straightforward on this one. There is room for the downside, but look, for now I think everybody's watching the upside scenario. No, I'm not saying that the downside scenario is not possible. It's just that there is wait, there's this room here. Okay, that's interesting. So we'll remain very careful, to be honest, with the crypto world right now. There is potential for the upside, but at the moment it's really 50-50 at this point here. Let's see how this is gonna play out. Let's jump into Dogecoin. Dogecoin is resting on the upper side of this falling channel. If we continue to trade so, then maybe there is, you know, this could be enough for this one to push higher. But if we somehow fall back inside the falling channel and fall below the EMAs here, I think that there is a possibility for a drift lower towards this upside line. And if that gets cleared, well, further declines are possible. Polkadot remains above the EMAs, the 100-day EMA, but below the 200-day, but above the 50-day EMA. So in a way, it seems like it wants to go higher, but it doesn't know. It's like it's waiting for the next catalyst here. So I would say this way, if we do pop above the 5.35, yep, this is opening the door to some nice higher levels, but at this point, let's be a little bit more on the careful side. Now, Tron is really doing not bad, I would say. You know, it pushed above my barrier here, it remained above it, so that's great. This little push here, this little breakout kind of gained around 6%, 6.5%. That's fine. Good result. Now it seems like we're stalling here, we're coiling up, and we're waiting for the next catalyst. So everything is waiting for the next catalyst, and let's see what it's going to be. Are we going to see some further weakness in the US dollar? If so, then we could see some positivity here in these cryptos, but again, let's not rush into conclusion yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I tried to deliver the message here very quickly. I tried to show you all the possible scenarios here, you know, and look, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them still. But if you don't, then look, as always, have a beautiful weekend. Have your stop losses in place. Don't risk only risk what you can afford to lose. Don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. And have a beautiful weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Have a remaining beautiful day today still, but also have a beautiful weekend. And I will see you on Monday. Yep, on Monday, as always, the same time, 7 o'clock GMT time. Bye for now.